Hello, I am Charles Darwin, and I was born on February the 12th, 1809. Unfortunately, I died Sorry, this is a very sad subject for me to read. Unfortunately, I died in 1881 and was buried in the famous Westminster Abbey. But growing up, my childhood was luxurious. My family, and a small army of servants to take care of our every need, lived in a small mansion called The Mount. I loved my home. But you probably know me because of my theory of natural selection, or as most people know it as, the theory of evolution. Evolution is, for those who don't know, this. Say on an island there were lots of birds with thick beaks who did not live very long. They did not live very long because their main source of food was nuts and berries, but it is difficult for them to pick up these nuts and berries with their thick beaks. These species of birds do not reproduce very often, and they die faster, soon causing their species to become extinct. But one of those birds had a child that had a thin beak. This bird had no trouble eating and reproduced more, causing a new generation of thin-beaked birds, and therefore the birds with the thin beaks grew more common than the birds with the thick beaks on the island. And that is basically evolution. I have won the Copley Medal, the Wollaston Medal, and the Royal Medal. I also invented the wildly used fishing nets on my trip around the world. Despite having all of these successes, my life has also had much misery. My dear loving mother died when I was only 8 years old, and 3 of my beloved children died of a disease called tuberculosis. My father hates me and tells me that I will never amount to anything. But I dealt with my mother's death by collecting. I collected everything from bird eggs in a tree to rocks on the ground. This is how I found my dear love of nature. Another struggle I had to deal with was my 3 children dying. I dealt with this by writing my most famous book, The Origin of Species. This book both changed me and the whole world by changing scientific thinking forever. My father hating me was very hard to deal with, but I did. I set sail on a ship called the SMS Beagle and left my old life behind. This was the trip that caused me to rethink the scientific theory and come up with my own theory of natural selection. Throughout my life, I've learned so much from my obstacles. They changed both me and my thinking of the world. I learned from Charles Darwin that sometimes people hide their thoughts and ideas from others and worry that they would be ridiculed. But people should share their thoughts and ideas to the world and not be afraid of what people think of them. Thank you all for listening to me today. I hope you all learned something. Cheerio!